We'll move on to the
Uh,
our last part of the segment, my scanner anomaly. And this one just it happened spontaneously from me reading lore because that's what I do.
I haven't
I
read
enjoy.
this, but if you get something wrong, I'm gonna have to fight you on it.
um, but I always go back and I reread a lot of the lore just because I find it really interesting. And like Paul Shelley, Astropub Shelley, um, the bartender at the end of Twitch or wherever, always says lore influences gameplay, and it is so incredibly true. The lore is not silly, contrary to what some people might believe. Um, and this is one of those things where I just sort of happened upon it. And I'm like, you know what?
Let's see if this
This
works.
could be lore stuff that could definitely influence gameplay in the future. Maybe not soon. Um,
Didn't give a link.
maybe not soon, but it could definitely be a thing. And so I don't remember how I stumbled upon it or why I was rereading it. I think I was doing stuff, researching the war against the Vandal. And I was rereading the lore on the Caliban system. And so Caliban was initially found on accident by Ashley Gahn um, when she stole her family's ship in order to escape her family, or sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. My bad. Found by Ashley Gunn in 2341 when she QT'd to escape pirates in the Null system. So she was traversing the Null system. She was attacked by pirates. She fired up her QT drive and just jumped. Which also points to, hey, maybe you won't have to. We're eventually not going to have to align to specific things. Yay! But she just jumped to try and get away from them. And when she came out of quantum travel, she scanned the area to see if they had followed her or tracked her down. She's looking for more pirates, but she found an anomaly nearby her, and it turned out to be the jump point to Caliban. Um, so she immediately returned to back then it was the United Nations of Earth. It wasn't even the United Planets of Earth or the United Empire of Earth. It's still United Nations of Earth.
Can I just say I
Um,
love the UNE logo? It screams Art Deco. It does, and it just makes me think of The Incredibles. Okay, then I go.
we were going through a phase.
Again.
Yeah. But so she returned to the UNE, and this is me reading from the lore, so I might have the timeline might be wrong, whether it's UNE, UPE, or whatever. But she named the system after her father. And so when the UNE Pathfinders got around to exploring Caliban, they found an abandoned human settlement on Caliban 4F. So that would be one of the moons around Caliban 4, which is a gas giant. And the settlement had a lot of valuable ore there. It had been abandoned, but there's a lot of valuable ore there, and so it showed that, hey, wait a minute, Ashley wasn't the first human to find this system. There were people there before her, and ostensibly because of the value of these ores and whatever else they were finding or working on was the reason at least part of the reason that they didn't tell the UNE, hey, there's a system here, there's a jump point here, we're going to sell you this information. Maybe the information wasn't the most valuable part of the system. And so that got me thinking, how many other systems are there that have been found where the person who officially found the system and is officially given credit wasn't the first human being to go to that system, wasn't the first person to discover it. And so I did a cursory search just going through the lore that we have on SC Tools and the links in their citations. But there's a lot of the lore in SC Tools that isn't complete because so much of what we have on the star systems comes from the Lore Maker's Guide to the Galaxy videos. And I wasn't about to rewatch all of those to try and remember which ones, but they do a really good job going through those videos of telling you the entire history, and a lot of it isn't in the Galactic Guide comlinks
Yet.
that we do have, and it's not in the Galactopedia. Yeah, so if you are really interested in the lore of the star systems, go and watch those videos. I really enjoy them. I nerded out on them, but I obviously haven't committed them all to memory. But the one I was able to find three additional systems, four including Caliban, where the official credit was not the apparently the first person to find or explore the system. And the next one that I want to talk about is the Helios system. And so the official record and the official credit for discovery of the Helios system actually goes to the advocacy of all people or of all groups. And this is the only time in the history of the advocacy where this has occurred, where they've gotten credit for discovering a star system.
You go,
And so the
guys.
yeah, good job, you know, way to go, space FBI, you know, tread on me harder and find another star system. Um, but yeah, so the advocacy agents had been assigned to track down a particularly elusive group of outlaws in the Odin system, um, and so they're trying to track down these outlaws that have been attacking these mining convoys. Because the apparently the coil and the areas around that, and I forget the name of the asteroid field there, is pretty valuable, or at least was at some point. Obviously, Shubin is there mining. We know that from Squadron 42, so we know that there's some valuable mining there. But these outlaws have been attacking mining convoys in the Odin system, and the mercenaries and security that these companies were hiring, they just couldn't track them down. They'd hit them, they'd hit, and then they'd run, and they'd just disappear. And they thought that maybe they're hiding out in the coil. They found some secret path through the coil that they could safely navigate. They just couldn't figure out where they're coming from. Well, so the advocacy got on the case, and they were able to backtrack them, and they realized that these pirates had discovered a jump point to another star system. And so these pirates had a base of operations in the Helios system, and were using that base of operations in Helios to hide. And they just go through the jump point and attack these mining convoys, and then return back to the jump point with their spoils. And you know, uh,
I'm gonna guess that's a really old lore piece.
it could be. I would have to go back
Odin
and
is
look at the
nowhere
exact date.
near Helios right now.
Is there no jump point?
So we have Odin over here, and to get to
Uh
Helios, it's Nyx, Pyro, Stanton, Magnus,
oh. See,
uh,
I didn't go through and look at all of
Tanis,
them.
and then Helios. They're on literally the other side of the Empire.
So it must have been another system instead of Odin. I'll have to
I
go
like
and
Nyx is
see what they
there. Nyx is
retconned.
right there.
Can you zoom in for me
Yoop.
to Helios?
Oh, Helios. Okay. Helios. Helios. We have Ellis. No, we have Tanis, Genesis, Charon, Tile, uh, and Gross or
Mm.
Goss.
I'll have to see how they retconned it, or what they changed, because I think that was from the old Galactic Guide.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go back and rewatch the Lore Maker's Guide video, but it was it was in the lore. But they talk to me that's pretty cool. These pirates, instead of because they obviously can't sell this information to
Yeah.
the UEE. Hey, we want to say this information, but we don't want to go to jail. Can we go to a few years, knocked off our sentence, that sort of thing. But so they used it to their advantage. They discovered a star system, and they didn't tell anyone because they knew you'd use it to continue their piracy operations and be more successful. The next system that's like this is the Horus system, which was officially discovered in 2528 by Marie Santi. Um, so this is the one where um, Marie was running from her family. She was escaping her family, and she stole a ship, or stole her family's ship in order to escape her family. And for years, neither she nor her ship were seen. That she just fell off the map. There's no record of her anywhere in the UEE for a number of years following her escape from her family. Don't know why she was escaping, but she escaped. Um, so there's a lot of speculation that she accidentally found a jump point to the Horus system, and spent years alone in this system, charting and exploring the entire system. Because when she finally did come forward with her discovery, and and her claim to the UEE, not only did she have the coordinates of the jump point, but she had basically mapped out the entire system. It had meticulous scans of the planets, the asteroid belts, the whole thing. And so, instead of selling this information to the UEE and just selling the location of the jump point for pathfinders to go through the jump point and then explore the system on their own, she did all the work and ostensibly got paid a crap ton more money, for all the
Nice.
information, because she's doing the exploring and selling that data. And so there's another really interesting gameplay implication for explorers, where maybe you don't just find the jump point and go and sell that information right away to the UEE. Maybe you find the jump point and you keep it secret to yourself, and you spend some time exploring the system, or you bring in your org of explorers, and you guys map out the whole system and explore the planets. And that way, when you do sell the information, you know you get a lot more money for it, rather than just the jump point coordinates. That's a pretty substantial gameplay implication, other than just, oh, I found the jump point and here's how to navigate it. There's a whole lot more data, and information that you could catalog, and make money off of, especially if you sell it to the right people.
Yep.
Maybe you don't sell it to the UEE. Who knows?
Yeah.
Um,
Shubin wants to buy for
yeah,
sure.
there's plenty of organizations and corporations in the uh, somewhat dystopian universe of Star Citizen that would be happy to go about that, and you know go mine out a system and not pay taxes or something.
Mm-hmm.
The next system, and this is not not a completely exhaustive list. I'm sure that there are others, but the next one is the Nemo system. And so, a employee of a terraforming concern in the Forest system was apparently out doing routine patrols, um, and but he went missing while on routine patrol, and they sent out search parties and everything, and they're looking for him, and then all of a sudden he just magically reappeared, and oh, everything was fine. Sorry, had a malfunction or whatever. Um, you know, but then promptly quit, and after quitting, apparently lined up a bunch of investors and started up a company, um, called Nemoco. And then
Very
shortly
original.
after, yeah, well, the system wasn't found, and so named the system after the company that he had just founded and named. Um, but apparently he made himself a partner in this company, found investors, and then all of a sudden announced, "Oh, we found a jump point, and it's an all-access jump point, meaning it's a very very large jump point."
Oh.
Um, but they didn't announce it until after the company that he had founded with these investors had bought up all the terraforming equipment at a super low discount price from the company that he had quit, because they were terraforming a planet in Fora.
Oh.
So this company, has been terraforming in the Fora system, and is struggling. They've got a bunch of debt. They need to sell all this massive terraforming equipment. They don't want to deal with it because it'll have to be uh, deconstructed to make it out of the jump point to go get reused somewhere else. And so they sell it on the cheap in order to cover their debts to a company, that one of the founders and the partners is one of their former employees. And literally they buy out this stuff, and then they announce, oh, there's a system with, you know we found a jump point to, and it's got terraformable planets. So this company that's struggling right now is like, hold on, wait a minute. And they try and go back and search through all the records and see if there's any way that they can find and prove that this guy found the system, the jump point in the system, while on company time, because then they would have a claim
Yeah.
to some of those resources, or to the system itself. Um, they could never prove it. The records were on a ship that was sold and never, couldn't be tracked down. And
Ah.
so, yeah, that company in four eventually went out of business. And Nemoco, helped terraform. Um, I forget which planet it is in Nemo. It's a water planet, but terraformed it. It's a tourist destination. There was a whole bunch of gas extraction there. Um, and they were actually successful for a little while, but due to mismanagement, eventually the company went out of business. But it goes to show you that um, here's another perfectly viable reason and way that you could find a jump point to another system, and maybe you don't. You may, because this there was a 2 year gap between when this event where he went missing occurred and when they announced he had founded the company and announced that they had found the jump point. And so, maybe it's you know, you find a jump point and you're a newer player and you just accidentally happen upon a jump point and you find a system, but you don't have the resources to exploit that jump point. And you're like, well, I could just take the quick cash out payment, the lump sum payment from the UEE, and sell the information. But maybe you did a cursory scan. You're like, oh my gosh, there's so much valuable stuff here. I don't want to just sell it to the UEE, but I don't have the means to exploit it now. Maybe you hold on to those, that information, and you, grind up for a year or so in order to be able to, you know, exploit that information or the resources in this new system, without, and you just hope that nobody else finds a jump point to it. You keep it to yourself. Um, but so those are some lore suggestions of why this might be profitable. But then you could have a lot of times you hear people say, well, what exploration gameplay is there going to be? That we've already explored. We've already found all the systems. There aren't going to be any more. Or CIG takes so
Then
long to make star systems. They're not going to make new star systems for us to find jump points to. Au
why'd they build?
contraire.
Then why'd they build a ship?
Yeah. If that was the case, why do we have ships like the Carrack and others that is designed, to be better at finding jump points and navigating them? Not just to find new routes from systems that we already have, but to find new systems. And this is part of the reason that we have Planet Tech V4. And this is me getting on my tinfoil hat a little bit. But this is, we have Planet Tech V4 so that way the designers can build star systems quickly, in order to build out this universe that we have on the Arc star map. But we know that the most time consuming part of building star systems is building the bespoke elements of them, the landing zones, the space stations. They're going to be able to do these things more procedurally, but it's still going to take time to build, Terra with its three landing zones because they're all each going to be different. But it only takes a couple of designers a couple of weeks to build a planet from scratch. Just a planet, with biomes
I thought that was a
and
whole star system. A couple weeks.
yeah. Well, it's each, with planets and moons. Like it was, I think it was a couple weeks for a planet, but a couple, not much longer for a star system, depending on how many planets and moons you
Right.
have, obviously. But they can make gas giants procedurally. They can make a number of different planets procedurally already, and that's without adding in the different biomes to their library that they're going to be expanding on in the future. So ostensibly, CIG could have a small team of developers, of designers, that all they do is, they make virgin star systems and that are unclaimed, unexplored. There's no space stations. There's no settlements. There's no ruins. There's no landing zones or anything like that. With a variety of planets, some habitable, some not. Some with resources, some not. And just make lots of variations. To these different planets and the resources on them and the flora and fauna on them, so that way, maybe you find a star system and it's really not that worth that much. Maybe you find a star system and it's a gold mine. Maybe it's somewhere in between. Maybe it's got habitable planets. Maybe it's got, gas giants with really valuable gases. Who knows? But with the technology that CIG has developed with Planet Tech V4 and their ability to create planets and moons and star systems, asteroid belts, in very short order. They could, pretty easily have, as the universe expands, they could seed it with undiscovered star systems and undiscovered jump points, just waiting for players to discover. And it would cost them many server resources, because if there's only one person in that star system, it's only going to spin up one server node. It won't cost them all that much. But maybe that player holds on to the coordinates and they explore it. Maybe that player works with their friends in order to explore the planets or exploit the resources. Or maybe that player is a pirate and he's part of a pirate gang, and this jump point is a perfect stepping off point to ambush traders, on a known supply route or something like that. um, Maybe players might want to go in there and build their base just so they know that their org's base is safe, from harm. You could even have it that maybe that new system creates a much shorter path, to another system, that now that you as a hauler can exploit, and save a ton of money, as far as save a ton of a ton in resources and fuel, time and UEC, you know, and you don't tell your competition. But maybe it's worth it for your hauling org to keep that secret route, a secret, and keep it to yourselves. There's a bunch of different reasons where you as a player, you and your either solo or as an org, might not want to give up this information as soon as you come across it. And it's very realistic that with CIG's capability, that this could be a very real thing, and could allow for exploration gameplay, but building onto that in ways that are far more interesting than we might have initially given credit for. Versus, oh, I scanned the jump point and I navigated it. That's it. But that's what I've got for my. Oh, the other thing is, and maybe players do sell that information. Think of the dynamic event that would generate with, instead of a gold rush, it's a system rush,
Yep.
with players rushing to explore an uncharted star system, miners rushing to hit, to search out, an asteroid field in a new system or asteroid belt. You know,
Yeah, because
who knows?
like that just that event has so many layers of it. Because if you sell it, if the UEE gets wind of it, they
Hmm.
have to go in first. They stake claim and say this is a UEE system. No one's allowed to touch it. We have to go in. We have to survey it, and then we'll decide what we want to do with it.
Hmm.
And then they'll divvy up and see what they want to do, if they want to sell the planets or whatnot, or however they want to do it. Um, and if you're
You could
a
have massive amounts of players
yeah
interacting with this event, and the UAE could be completely oblivious,
yeah,
just because no one went through the initial official channels.
and that's how a lot of systems came up how they are now. Like somebody went through them, they started colonizing it, then the UEE is like, wait, oh, you're already there. You get that planet. We'll take the next one.
Hmm.
Um, and
Or
so
eminent domain.
yeah, they've done that too.
Hmm.
You also have your legal and illegal miners. Legal miners have to then go back to the UEE and say, "Hey, I want to take a mining claim for this sector." Illegal mining, bum rush the system and go mine as much as they can before they get kicked out by the UEE. And now, of course, you have settlers or squatters or however you want to do it. Colonists, if there's a green band system. I don't know how regulated or open they are to terraforming at this point. Um,
I mean, there might be habitable planets. Maybe there
mhm.
wouldn't. I don't think we're going to be able to get terraforming on our own, but it could be something where, that could be a great in-game event where, we have to, support a terraforming operation. Somebody found a new system.
Yep.
This is a terraformable planet. Um, all of a sudden, terraforming platforms appear above it, and we need to bring supplies to it. Just like we need to
Yeah.
bring supplies to the Javelin in Xenothreat. How cool of an event would that be, that
I imagine
players could support terraforming? You know.
I imagine it work a lot like functions with the UEE would work. Like you don't get to control it, but you can have a hand in it. So I would imagine we would get to a point. not anytime soon, but a point, where you could hire as a very large org a terraforming company to come and terraform a planet.
Yeah, who knows? That'd be cool.
So that's like
I mean, and
way
I
out
even like
there.
the idea of,
Could you imagine
um,
shopping for plants to seed the
yeah.
world after the terraforming?
Well, and if it's, maybe it's found by a smuggler, you know,
Yeah.
um, and he, that they can't keep the system all themselves, but it becomes a new lawless system within, sort of UE territory, and you've got, a new pyro,
Mm-hmm.
a new player-made pyro, or a new player-made null, or
Now
something like
imagine player NPC finds a system, doesn't tell anyone, and just hoards his bounty there. And before he's able to enjoy it or pass it along to his first mate, he dies.
that. Like dies in real life.
Captain, no, like Captain Flynn style, like his entire horde is on this
Mhm.
one planet or island in the original book.
Oh, and what if you didn't, like, as a player? What if you didn't, like, actually write down the coordinates to the jump point? It was
Oh,
saved on your computer on your ship, and you have
yeah,
a catastrophic failure of
yeah.
your ship or whatever, it crashes. You die as a player.
Or
You
even, or
get
even,
regen.
you crash on that planet.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
And yeah, so you have to live out. So you live out your days trapped on this planet, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so after that character dies and you have to make a new character, there's now a planet, a treasure planet. Like that's
I
amazing. I
I'm
mean,
just imagining
oh.
um the in-game chat of somebody waking up at a landing zone hospital after having died in these circumstances, and not being able to get back to their system, not having the coordinates set, saved or something like that, and
Mm-hmm.
them just losing their minds in game chat, and everybody's like, "What are you talking about?"
And I imagine global chat will turn to planetary chat eventually
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
thousands of people on a single chat's gonna be broken. Anyway,
How
also
would you call for rescue? Because it's like,
beacons.
okay,
Beacons are
well,
wider.
but if you can't, if the beacon is in a system that's undiscovered,
No,
you
no,
know,
you're just screwed then. That's the
yeah,
risk you take.
that the stories
Uh
that could
huh.
come from something like this would be
Yeah.
so incredibly epic within the gaming community at large.
Mm-hmm.
It just, the ways, the different ways you could go, that it could go are it, when I was thinking about all this as I was doing the research, I'm like, God, you know, there doesn't even have to be any combat whatsoever in this gameplay, and it would be just so incredible and so dynamic and interesting, and could suit, it just imagine different players' little, light bulbs going off and that little evil grin, like, no, it's my precious. I'm going to keep it. Why shouldn't I? Why
Yep.
shouldn't I have it?
Yep.
It's my system.
But you also have like the possibility of international incidents by accidentally finding a jump point to a Xi'an system.
Ooh.
You
Hmm.
have the tragic incidents of accidentally finding a jump point to Vanduul systems. Vandu don't care. You can find jump points to their systems all day, every day. Um,
Accidentally make our way to the Krthok.
okay, yeah, that I was about to say. Like another intergalactic incident
Hmm.
because the Xi'an don't want us to know about them.
Yeah,
Though, I
maybe some player will role play as space commie hippies like Levski, and they'll just set up their commune, or maybe the system gets discovered by, when we, maybe it's when we get to get to play as aliens, and somebody's role playing as a Tavaran, and they set up a new Tavaran diaspora, um, or in this hidden system or something like that, yeah.
yeah, I that is one honestly one of the stretch goals for my org is to be the first human to talk to the Kathak. Like we like our goals are very wide. Basically, we have talk to Kathak is the end goal of um the exploration, and then cargo division's biggest goal is to be as big as Kovalex. Um, I think science would probably be to start inventing new plants. I haven't fleshed them all out, but yeah, basically much of the that kind of gameplay is we have end goals that are mostly far beyond what most people think is possible in the game.
Oh yeah, no, and just for variety's sake too.
Yeah.
When you talked about plants too, and that brought up when people say, and I'm not going to say who it was, but a certain someone said lore is silly. And if you go in the Galactopedia and you see the lore that the narrative team have written for some things that you think, okay, why did they write so much lore about a houseplant? A popular because this happened as I was doing the digging, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, and I just started. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool looking, and then I read the whole passage, and I'm like, wait a minute, they've got like a page and a half on the story behind
You talking about the
a,
cactus?
a the cactus thing.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
I read that one the other day, yesterday.
yeah, they've got a page and a half, about the story behind how this thing became a popular houseplant and where it came from. And it's like, and all I could think about is because I was, I'm like going through all this about, how exploration gameplay could lead to other things, in ways that, isn't just the conventional find thing, sell data on thing. Um, and I was like, oh my gosh, they're talking about science gameplay.
Yep.
This houseplant is science. They accidentally crossbred, two plants while bringing a native species from Earth to a terraformed planet, and it you know did whatever plants do in order to create a new species, you know, and that species became very popular for decoration. And it's like that's science gameplay. They're talking about science gameplay. Um, and they're talking about it right here in the lore, and they never mentioned anything official about it. But otherwise, why would they go through all that effort? To create an hour, a page and a half or more's worth of story about a cactus.
The only other like kind of thing, and I don't know if they do this much work for it, but they are for different plants. They do flares for them.
Yeah, there's flares for them, but this is what when you look at the everybody talks about the Carrick med bay as just being the med bay. There's samples of plants in the med bay on the props.
Mm-hmm.
It's more than just a med bay; it's a science bay. The Endeavor is a science ship. It has modules for being a science ship. You know, what do you think you're going to be doing? Oh, I'm just going to grow crops on my Endeavor, or
No, you have
or
one pair of science and one pair of biodomes.
yeah, mm-hmm, you know, I'm going to invent new plants to do new things or something like that. That is the science gameplay that people are not really thinking about at all because it hasn't been mentioned, but they're writing the lore for it right
Yeah,
now.
because CIG has not done the work for it yet, the designs for it yet,
Hmm.
and
Or the narrative team was just eating some edibles and just started typing away. Who the hell knows?
I mean, no, they narrative team is always the first to get onto a new mechanic,
They are the
because
pioneers of everything in
yeah,
development.
and
I'm
and
convinced
and
of it.
whoever said lore was silly like doesn't understand how this project runs, because it runs on lore.
It was a very prominent content creator, and it was pretty entertaining. We shouldn't mention that though. Mention who it was, but
Wait, was it bored?
no, no, no. Don't
Was
don't don't say it. Don't say it. We're not going to knock anyone else. You know,
no? People can have their opinions, but
yeah, they can have their opinions. Board is all about the lore. I mean, he does
okay,
lore segments too.
okay, I'll stop guessing.
It
But
was
okay,
just it was a funny thing that occurred in Astropub's Discord, and we're like, really, really, because I mean, what is everything that we just talked about? Our spectrum pulses, the scanner anomalies, all of this stuff is things that are in game but are also heavily influenced by the lore, and we're lore first, in game second. You know,
yeah.
this is not a matter of the chicken or the egg. The lore always comes first. Whose microphone is peppery Othmion, mine or his?
What? Cease
Let's see.
microphone? What? What now? What I
I
do?
don't know what he means.
I don't know.
but yeah, that is a. I think that's just about it for this episode. Um, I kind of like the format of breaking it up so that way each episode isn't 3+ hours long. This one's already getting kind of long, but we were like that timer didn't start was already at like 30 minutes when we actually got started because
Yeah.
we didn't start we started the stream late, but um, yeah, no, it's a good chat, good talk, lots of good information, lots of interesting stuff to go over. Um, and we have another episode. Again, we have another episode coming up on Monday. We'll be talking about the roadmap update that came out today. We'll also talk about the news regarding Gen 12 and everything going on with that. We'll discuss the streaming changes from the entity graph. That stuff that's coming into 317.
We'll have an
Um,
ISC to go over.
oh yeah, and we'll talk about ISC, and I forget what the SC live is on, but
Uh,
definitely ISC.
yeah. I know we're getting a sprint report like straight out of the gate.
A sprint report, and I thought the other thing was it flora and fauna,
Yes, 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 yes,
or maybe it was
yes.
just flora. I forget. Hmm.
This weekend starts. This is. Let's see. The ISC. The future of wear and biome accumulation, followed by a sprint report.
Oh, that's the stuff for the derelicts.
Oh, okay, okay. So that's derelict
Yep.
stuff. And
Oh, that should
then
be really cool.
SCL game dev episode with senior concept artist Frederic Dupree. So that'll be cool.
Hmm.
Didn't we just
Well,
have
awesome.
a concept artist for
Um,
when they started talking about the new Rex? He built a some type of a Rex scene. So okay, that's
it'll be interesting.
yeah.
And again, I will put up an announcement in all the discords that we always post in before I start streaming on Sunday. But that is the plan, to stream Sunday evening. It'll either be 7 or 8. It'll either be 9 or 10 o'clock Eastern. Um, but yeah, if you feel like it, please join me on Twitch Sunday evening. Especially if you have any hints, tips, tricks for flying dual stick or using the Toby. I'm going to be fumbling my way through it. Hopefully, it is entertaining, but hopefully, I can also slowly get the hang of it. But after watching all the videos of people flying dual stick and using Toby, I'm really excited to give it a try, especially with how performative 317 has been in PTU. So hopefully we will have good luck with it. And thank you for joining us in chat. For those of you who are here with us live, and if you watch this on YouTube, please leave us a comment in the comments on anything regarding what we've been talking about, or if it's regarding a previous episode. Again, we always, if you have more information, we add that to the show notes. We will bring that up in the next episode and give you credit. We want to keep things as accurate and objectively informative as possible. Um, and again, thanks for having us. Thanks for being with us. Nazeris, have anything else, bud?
Nope. My brain has gone off for the night and thinking of all the work I got to do tomorrow. But yeah,
All
it's been
right.
a good one.
Mm-hmm. Good episode. Thanks again. Everybody have a good night.
Night night everyone.